Mark stares at his phone longer than he wants to admit. Then he locks the screen and turns it face down, like he just hung up on bad news. He makes $100,000 a year. He's made that for 3 years now. That's around $300,000 that's passed through his life since his last promotion. And with rent due in 72 hours, he has $847 in his account. He's not lazy. He's not reckless. He goes to work every day. He's good at his job. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't blow money on anything that sounds crazy. He just never really looked. Alex also makes $100,000 a year. Same timeline, same industry, same city. Between his savings and investments combined, $54,000. 3 years of the same income quietly building in the background. Most people look at this and assume one thing. Alex just has more discipline, better habits, wired differently. That's not what happened. At some point, Alex learned to see something that Mark never looked for. A system running underneath both of their lives, invisible by design, built to move money out of your hands before you realize it's gone. Same income, same 3 years, two completely different financial realities. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. 3 years ago, Mark got the raise. 6 figures. It felt like crossing some invisible line into real adulthood. That night, he and his girlfriend went to a restaurant they used to walk past and joke about. This time, they walked in. Somewhere between the appetizers and the second glass of wine, she asked the question Mark had been waiting to hear. So, are we finally going to move somewhere nicer? Mark didn't hesitate. In his head, the math was simple. $100,000 a year, over $8,000 a month. A nicer apartment, a better car, actually living like someone who earns what he earns. It all fit comfortably inside that number. I make 6 figures now. This is what that's supposed to feel like. Yeah, he said. We can basically do whatever we want now. He meant it. He believed it. The number he was doing math on was $8,333 a month. Alex got the same raise the same year. He felt the same rush. Then he opened his laptop and did one thing before anything else. Of this new salary, how much is actually mine? After taxes, Social Security, Medicare, his $100,000 becomes roughly $72,000 a year. He did the division. $6,000 a month. Not 8,333. 6,000. That's what hit his account. That's the number every decision has to be built around. He wrote it down and looked at it for a moment. Not with excitement, just with clarity. The gap between what Mark thinks he has and what he actually has. $2,333 a month. $28,000 a year. And Mark is about to build every financial decision for the next 3 years off the wrong number. That's where their stories begin to split, quietly, before either of them has spent a dollar. The first thing Mark upgrades is where he lives. His old apartment was fine, $1,100 a month, older building, 20 minutes from work. But when your salary just jumped to 6 figures, staying put feels like leaving something on the table. The new place is $1,950 a month. In-unit laundry, floor-to-ceiling windows, a rooftop. He's 28 years old. He's been grinding for years. The apartment feels like evidence that it's working. I deserve this. I've worked for this. He signs the lease on a Saturday. On the way out, the building manager mentions a small administrative fee, $350, that wasn't in the original quote. Mark puts it on his credit card. He'll handle it next month. Alex toured a building like that 2 weeks after the raise. 8th floor, city view. The leasing agent left the paperwork on the counter with a pen. Alex picked up the pen. He stood there for a moment, actually standing there, holding it, and put it down. He thanked her and said he'd think about it. In the parking garage, he sat in his car and ran his real number, $6,000 a month. If he signed that lease, his savings would get cut in half before he'd accounted for anything else. He drove home, renewed his old lease, and set up an automatic transfer, $900 a month, straight into savings. He didn't feel like he'd won anything that night. He just made a decision instead of drifting into one. 2 months after the raise, Mark's car starts making a noise. $800 to fix it. 5-year-old car. Paid off, but rattling. It's just temporary. Once I get the new car sorted, I'll be fine. New car comes with a warranty. No surprises for 3 years. The payment is manageable. He makes good money now. The mechanic comes back. Mark tells him he'll think about the repair. He doesn't come back. The salesman doesn't spend much time on the $38,000 sticker. He talks about $479 a month, warranty, peace of mind, getting out from under the old car. Mark puts $2,500 down at signing, on the card, same one as the apartment fee, and drives home in something that smells new. Insurance jumps $140 a month. Total car cost, $619 a month. That's $7,400 a year. His old car was costing him around $2,200 a year. He didn't buy a $38,000 car. He agreed to $479 a month. Those feel like the same decision. They're not. When the number is $38,000, your brain registers the weight of it. It asks questions. It hesitates. When the number is $479, your brain does one fast check. Can I cover this month? The answer is yes. Decision made. The question changed. And with it, so did the answer. Alex's car is 7 years old. Nobody compliments it. It's paid off. Total annual cost, insurance, gas, maintenance, around $2,100. Some months a repair shows up and he's annoyed about it. He's looked at new models online. He knows the feeling, but the difference between what a new car costs and what this one costs, $5,000 a year, is sitting in his investment account instead. He keeps the car. The next 18 months don't have a single dramatic event. Nothing breaks. Nobody calls with bad news. Mark isn't making reckless decisions. He's just living. But somewhere underneath the surface, a list is building. If you asked him right now how much he spends on subscriptions every month, he'd say around $60, maybe $70. Streaming services, $47. Music, $11. Cloud storage, $10. Fitness app he opens maybe twice a month, $15. Meal kit he keeps meaning to cancel, $68. News subscription from a promo he forgot about, $22. Software for a side project he paused, $29. Audiobook service, $15. Total, $217 a month, $2,600 a year. Not $60, $217. None of them felt like a decision when he added them. That's exactly how they got there. 2 or 3 times during this stretch, Mark opens his bank app and feels something he can't quite name. The account is lower than he'd expect. He scrolls through, doesn't see any single obvious problem, and puts the phone down. It'll even out next month. He scrolls past the interest charge without registering what it is. Just another line on the statement. Just another month. It doesn't even out. Alex isn't immune to this either. A work trip extends by a day. Hotel, meals on the road. $340 on his card he wasn't planning on. He pays it off when he gets home, but for a week, it sits there, and he's aware of it. He's not a machine. He has those moments too. Mark's social life has a price tag he's never added up. Friday dinners, $90 to $120, 2 or 3 times a month. Tuesday drinks after work, $50 most weeks. Birthday dinners where the check gets split evenly. He's paid $85 for a meal he'd have ordered for $40. The spring trip, Airbnb, food, activities, $380 all in. He doesn't think of these as expenses. He thinks of them as his life. Everyone spends like this. This is just what it costs to have a life. Alex isn't the guy who lectures anyone about money. He's had the moment where someone says, "Come on, it's just one more round." He's felt the pull of the weekend trip he didn't go on. It cost him something. Not money, but something. What he noticed over time, most of the people at that table couldn't comfortably afford what they were spending either. They weren't choosing. They were just moving with the current. The current doesn't ask. It just carries. The credit card balance is $4,200. He knows roughly how it got there. The apartment fee, the car signing, the laptop that died 6 months ago, $900. A dentist bill, a flight for a wedding he couldn't skip. Each one went on the card with the same thought. I'll pay it down next month. He never did. At 22% interest, 75% of his minimum payment every month goes nowhere. Not to the balance, just to the bank for the cost of carrying it. He opens a spreadsheet and starts filling in what he actually spends. Rent, $1,950. Car and insurance, $619. Groceries, household, $400. Subscriptions, $217. Dining out and social, $600. Utilities and phone, $220. Clothes, $150. Online shopping, $300. Gas, parking, $150. Total, $4,606. On paper, $1,394 left over every month. He stares at that number. He doesn't have $1,394 anywhere. It dissolves into the card balance, into the irregular expenses, into the months where something always comes up. $6,000 in, $4,606 in fixed costs, $1,394 that evaporates before it ever becomes anything. Alex's $6,000. Rent, $1,200. Car, $180. Groceries, $380. Subscriptions, $63. Dining and social, $320. Utilities and phone, $180. Clothing, $80. Irregular buffer, $400. Emergency fund, $300. Investments, $900. Total, $4,003. The remainder, roughly $2,000, sits in a separate account. Some months it covers a repair, a medical bill, a flight. Some months it just accumulates. Either way, it has a purpose before it gets spent. $900 a month into the market, every month, without drama. Over 3 years, contributions and average returns, his savings and investments have grown to $54,000 combined. Same income, same city, same 3 years. It happens between rounds. A coworker, same age, same salary, someone Mark has always thought of as basically in the same position, mentions almost as an aside that he just put a down payment on a condo. Not a big moment. The conversation moves on. Mark says, "Nice, man," and means it. On the walk home, he keeps turning one thing over. If someone called him tomorrow, good deal, time sensitive, needed $40,000, he couldn't do it. He makes $100,000 a year, and he couldn't produce $40,000. He doesn't say that out loud. He opens all of it, 3 years of statements, runs the actual number. $216,000 after tax has moved through his life since the raise. He does the math twice. He can account for some of it, the apartment, the car, some trips, but there's a large, quiet portion he can't place. It didn't go anywhere he can point to. It just left. He sits with that for a moment. Then he does 2 things he's never actually done before. First, he pulls up his last 3 pay stubs and finds his real monthly take-home. Basically $6,000, not $8,300, $6,000. That's the number his whole financial life should have been built around. Not the salary, the deposit. Second, he takes every fixed monthly cost and multiplies it by 12. Rent, $23,400. Car and insurance, $7,428. Subscriptions, $2,604. Card minimum, $1,260. He doesn't cancel anything tonight. He doesn't call the dealership. He just looks at what's there. That's enough for now. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If nothing changes from that Sunday, here's where both paths lead. Over the next 8 years, Mark earns approximately $800,000 before tax. After rent cycles, lease turnovers, credit card interest quietly eating into his cash flow, subscriptions, the social current, his net worth sits somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000. Cash he hasn't gotten around to spending yet. Nothing invested, nothing compounding. $800,000 earned. roughly $10,000 remaining. Alex keeps putting $900 a month into the market at an average 8% annual return. By year 8, well over $100,000. By year 20, still contributing, still untouched, that account crosses $500,000. Total contributions over 20 years, $216,000. The other $300,000? Pure time. One of them worked for every dollar he has. The other made his dollars work for him, and then got out of the way. The thing about Mark's story isn't that he did anything unusual. He upgraded his apartment when he got the raise, got a better car when the old one started breaking, went to the dinners, let the subscriptions pile up, put things on the card, and told himself he'd handle it next month. That's not recklessness. That's the default. What Mark did on that Sunday were two things that took 20 minutes. He found his real take-home number, not the salary, the deposit. He wrote every fixed monthly cost down as an annual number. That's it. That was the start of seeing it. Alex didn't get there by being different. He got there by looking earlier. Mark is 28 years old. He just saw the problem for the first time. And the question he's going to sit with tonight, the one most people never actually calculate, is what those 3 years cost him. Not just the money, the time, the compounding that didn't happen. The gap between seeing it at 25 and seeing it at 28 is not the same gap as seeing it at 28 versus 33. That math is the next conversation. Money decoded. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.